So I'm back reacting to other people's content. According to Bleacher Report, the Pelicans are the best starting five as we go into the NBA restart. Now, the net rating, I get it. Those five, they killed teams when they were together. You know, Lonzo and Zion's chemistry is great. Drew Holiday remains one of the most all-around players in the league. I love Derek Favors for his fundamentals. Ingram, his shot creation has really improved. I get it. But, number one, I mean, this is the thing with advanced stats, and I think something that needs to be remembered. And I'm not saying that Bleacher Report ignored this, but clearly they fell out on a different side of it than most would. Sometimes you got to look at advanced stats, like a net rating for a starting lineup, and you just got to be like, well, projecting forward, do I really believe that's going to hold up? And I don't think that's going to hold up, especially when we're talking about the context of the playoffs. And if the Pelicans get into the postseason, then they're going to be facing the Lakers in round one, and we'll talk about the Lakers in a second here, but you know, let's dive into their reasoning a little bit. Okay, they didn't really go into the nitty-gritty. They basically just said what I said and not a lot of specifics. Other little like X's and O's thingies to talk about. Zion's pick and roll defense as of right now is bad, and I say this as a big Zion dude. So it'll be interesting to see if teams attack him defensively. Besides that, I mean, Ingram, depending on the day, is a good defender. Lonzo, Drew, and Favors are, so for whatever that's all worth. Yeah, again, I just don't think this holds up over what we're about to see. Although I will say, I think the Pelicans are going to be a team that is going to be a little more threatening throughout these 8 games because they have to win them. You know, like teams like the Bucks and the Lakers and whoever else, they don't have to win any of these games. So they might not have a great record in the 8 games, but it's more about just getting their players and their teams ready for the playoffs. Anyway, we go to number 11, Los Angeles Lakers. My finals pick. I get it. The Bradley loss is a thing. They say it here. And they're just projecting this lineup as their new starting five, and when this lineup played, this is what you got. You got a +3 in 250 minutes. But this is one of those things where I just, and you know, like I love advanced stats, I love lineup data, I love all that stuff. I'm just going to choose to not care about this. Like, I look at this starting five and I say to myself, this makes sense. Although I would replace JaVale with Dwight, but they've been going with the JaVale thing all season. So, you roll with that, but you know, it's not the most complex case in the world, but I mean, it's LeBron James and it's Anthony Davis and it's 2 guys who can make jump shots and play solid enough defense. And I'm going to take that over what the net rating may say, especially compared to a team that has got a whole bunch of young dudes and a rookie and stuff like that. Of course, there's a bunch of teams between those two, so we can talk about them, and eventually we'll look at the bottom of the list. We're totally out of order now. The Nuggets at number 10. In terms of team chemistry and fit and all that stuff, the Nuggets are great. I mean, they say it here. No starting lineup has as much experience together as the Nuggets. Yeah, I mean, the way that they all play off of Jokic, who is probably going to look a little more slim than he does here when we get going. Scrimmages start tomorrow, by the way. It's insane, but yeah, and there's definitely value in that. I mean, Millsap knows his place. He shot a few more threes this year. Murray, Harris, and Barton can all go off the dribble. Jokic is a point guard in a 7-footer's body, as we all know. A huge advantage over teams like the Blazers, Sixers, and Grizzlies. Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it's all fair. One thing I do want to say about Denver, I'm interested to see for the playoffs if they ever go to a Jeremy Grant with Paul Millsap lineup. I know that's not the starting five, but maybe they would do it for even more defensive versatility and stuff. Utah at number 9. So, it seems like this will be the lineup they go with. I know there's some talk about Niang getting the starting bid because he could be a bit of a stretch guy, but It would probably be this. The pairing of O'Neal and Gobert may be the best defensive two-man frontcourt in the NBA. Is that true? I think Giannis and Brook Lopez would have a case there. Also, the new Ben Simmons and Embiid frontcourt also has a case. But, I mean, Gobert and anyone is immediately one of the best defensive frontcourts. So in that sense, I get what they're going with. Can Royce O'Neal defend fours? He's not like the biggest dude in the world. He's not small, but, you know, if you're thinking about O'Neal in like a Robert Covington type of thing, I mean, Covington's 6'8", 6'9". O'Neal's like 6'4", 6'5". Now, O'Neal does have a 6'10" wingspan, so that makes up for it a little bit, but we'll have to see. But, yeah, this is their best case with Bogdan, or Bojan being out. And, of course, the Mike Conley thing is always a thing. Houston at number 8. Is this going to be their starting five? Yeah, probably. I think the most interesting lineup is when you replace House with Gordon, because if Gordon's making his threes, then I think Houston could be really something to deal with. But Daniel House, solid enough 3-and-D guy who plays within himself. Doesn't get too crazy. See, but this sort of thing, like swapping Gordon in for Covington, has resulted in a dip to a -7.5 net rating, which doesn't surprise me. But I wouldn't want to take out Gordon for Covington. I think something interesting with Houston is going to be the minutes distribution. I mean, we know they're going to do the staggering of Westbrook and Harden, and they're both going to play like high 30s and all that. But how many minutes the rest of these guys going to play? Because you're talking House, Covington, Tucker, Eric Gordon, Jeff Green. Do they have DeMarre Carroll? I think they do. They signed Mbah Moute. Like, are they going to have like a bunch of dudes playing between, let's say, 17 and 24 minutes a game or something? I feel like it could be that with the two guards playing a crap ton. Dallas at number 7. So they were the best offense in the league for a bit, or for the whole season, I should say. But it should be mentioned that at times Luka and Porzingis together, not great. It was like Luka by himself was really good, I believe, and then when neither one of them were on the court, they were really good. I do think the Finney-Smith-Porzingis frontcourt is interesting. It's definitely stretchy. I mean, Zinger is a matchup nightmare against a lot of fives, and that's interesting. You know, if Porzingis is 100%, which who knows if he is, but if he would be, that could be kind of devastating for a lot of teams, because suddenly it's like, wait a minute, how do we defend this guy, you know? I mean, some teams would be able to. Like, the Lakers could put AD at center and he'd have a shot, but if you're talking about, and Houston would at least have the athleticism to match him as well, but, you know, a team like Denver, for example, you're going to stretch Jokic out to the three-point line, that sort of thing. That'd be interesting. Toronto at number 6. I feel like Toronto is one of those teams where every single one of their lineups is really good. For the sake of the starting five, the thing that I want to talk about is OG. I don't know who the best defender on this team is. I guess I put Lowry on my all-defense second team, I believe. So I guess that's me acknowledging that it's Lowry. But part of me sometimes thinks it's actually Anunoby. If for no other reason than he can devote most of his energy to that side of the floor. And I think he is going to be a pretty pivotal guy for them. Because, I mean, let's talk about it. You know, you could put him on Tatum or Jalen or Hayward, and you could have a chance there. You probably still have to bring some help, especially if it's Tatum, but that's a really good initial defender on that type of guy. Or against Giannis, could he have a chance? I mean, Siakam could be a guy defending Giannis a bit as well, but I do think OG on Giannis, or at least Middleton, could be a pretty big deal. You talk about OG on somebody on the Sixers, I would imagine Ben Simmons, he would be the guy. And that could be a big deal. He might just be able to take a guy like Tobias Harris out of the game totally. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Toronto uses Anunoby and if he can really be like an all-defense guy. I think he can be, but I'm saying he might already be that now, even if we're not willing to give him the award for it or anything. They say that Siakam is a legit number 1 option. I think that still needs to be seen. I guess it depends on what do you consider a number 1. Like, to me, a number 1 option is when we're talking about in the playoffs, like a guy who can get you there, like that's Kawhi of last season. Can Siakam be that? No, he can't be. But could he get close enough combined with everybody playing well? Maybe. I mean, I think Toronto's the biggest threat to the Bucks in the East. So, number 5, the Celtics. What's the difference between the Celtics starting 5? 12.5 in 188. 12 and 280. So, kind of similar. I mean, the Celtics, they had a bunch of injuries this year. To be fair, Toronto did as well. I mean, neither one of these starting 5s were used as much as you really want them to. Like, Marc Gasol was hurt kind of the whole year, in a way. And, Kemba's got the knee thing now, and the Celtics always just had, like, one guy out. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if, they mentioned Marcus Smart here. I was about to say, I wouldn't be shocked if Marcus Smart with whoever happens to be the starters for that particular game had more minutes than this, The thing that the Celtics have that I don't know if a lot of other teams have, it's just, like, this 4 is so versatile offensively. I mean, 4 guys who can take it off the dribble, hit a jumper, and 3 of them who are tall so they can finish through contact, and Kemba, assuming he's healthy, is, really good at getting inside, so there's that. But also the interesting thing is that Brad Stevens loves the hell out of Marcus Smart, and he's always had Marcus Smart in there in fourth quarters and all that. What's going to happen now? Because, I mean, you could try the Marcus Smart with them in there, but, it's a very small lineup, and Daniel Tice has been good. So it's like, are you just going to be, are there going to be fourth quarters with Marcus Smart just sitting on the bench? I mean, I know it sucks to say because of the impact he can make, but that 4 is really solid. So I guess that's something to see. Miami at number 4. So the Myers-Bam thing, which I think technically Leonard is the center in those lineups and Bam is the 4. Is this going to be the closing lineup? Also, is Dragic going to play over none? I think Miami, they got so many options. Like, we know Jimmy and Bam are going to be closing games. I think the other 3 are really up in the air. Where it's like, you could go Leonard or Olynyk if you need more of a stretch guy. Could you slide Duncan Robinson down to the 4? Could you slide Jimmy down to the 4? Could you go with Nunn and Dragic? Like, I think Spoelstra's got a lot of options. And when I say Olynyk is more of a stretch guy than Leonard, I think it's because Olynyk, I think he shoots like a couple more threes a game than Leonard does or something like that. But Leonard can shoot from outside as well. So Milwaukee at number 3. Pretty sure the net ratings all have Milwaukee at number 1 and everything. Like plus 19 in 400 minutes. What are the Clippers? Plus 19 in 120, and then the Pelicans 26 and 230. I mean, I feel like the Bucks have to be number 1 here. Like, I guess if I was going to do this, I would probably still have the Bucks number 1. I would have the Lakers number 2 while doing a whole spiel of, like, I think the Lakers are still better. But if you're going to have the idea of we're all about the net rating and all that, this has to be number 1. I mean, plus 19 in 400 minutes. Also, we should acknowledge that all these dudes are playing, like, below 31 minutes a game or something because they're just blitzing the hell out of teams. I don't know, man. Seems a little inconsistent if you ask me. Should be acknowledged, Philly has not shown up at all. But yeah, they do mention, like, when you go Giannis, Middleton, DiVincenzo in there, or whatever. That is something that's going to be interesting. Pretty similar to Miami. Like, I think with the Bucks, Giannis and Middleton are the definites in fourth quarters. I think everything else is up in the air. You could go Giannis at center. You could go DiVincenzo over Matthews. You could go George Hill over Bledsoe. A lot of interesting stuff. Marvin Williams, I think, was a big acquisition for this. Ilyasova, kinda, but he's like the slowest dude in the NBA, so I don't know if he really can hang with this team in a playoff game like that. But yeah, for the sake of the way they've been doing this, I would have the Bucks number 1. Clippers at number 2. Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel like doing my anti-Clippers spiel anymore, so we'll just say, in terms of versatility and defense and all that, like, if everybody's locked in, and when I say everybody, I mainly mean Marcus Morris, then yeah, like the versatility, the switchability, the size, it's all there. Morris, you'd think, can hit a couple of big shots for you. I'm being nice because every time the Clippers pop up now, I do the whole thing, and I don't feel like doing it. Would I have them this high? No. I'll just leave it at that. Mainly because I would just have the Lakers way higher. And then, we already did the Pelicans spiel. Let us talk about some of the other teams now. So, Philly at number 12. Yeah, it is interesting. The lineup that we talk about was not good when they actually used it. But this is another one of those things where I'm just going to kind of ignore that and be like, I look at the 5 names, I think of the way you can have Ben Simmons screening, I look at Shake Milton shooting, I look at the fact that you've now got 4 ball handlers, and I'm just like, that makes sense to me, okay? And 91 minutes is effectively nothing. So, yeah. Who's number 13? The Kings. I mean, at this point, do we really need to talk about it? I guess I can give a Kings spiel real quick. We're 19 minutes in here, or whatever we are. If you're still watching, here's a Sacramento Kings take. I think the Kings need more... Well, they need Bagley to be healthy. And so the fact that he already got hurt is really rough, because we could have finally watched him play some games. But I think the Kings need more playmaking. Like this Buddy Hield, Bogdan, Harrison Barnes thing. All 3 of them are good players, but I think when you put them together and you have a center who has no playmaking at all, it just kind of makes the offense not as dynamic as you'd want it to. Part of that is because Luke Walton's making them go slow as hell when they were fast last year and it worked. So I don't know what to do with all that. I feel like what they could really use, not that I'm suggesting this, but like if you could replace Bogdan with Gordon Hayward or just some sort of a playmaking wing, I think that would do a lot for Sacramento, or even on a smaller scale like Joe Ingles. He gets like 5 assists a game while only averaging 10 points or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Something like that I think could be good for them. Or like what the Raptors do when they go with a Lowry and Fred VanVleet backcourt. Anyway, we move on. Blazers, yeah, I mean, Collins and Nurkic. I mean, do we know if those two are going to be good? Because it's not like 2K where you come back from an injury and you're instantly fine. Now, in theory, it makes sense, right? Collins, potentially a stretchy, switchy power forward. Nurkic, the brute center who is amazing with Dame. Like, the lineup data of Dame and Nurkic together, since they got Nurkic, it's really, really good. So, there's all that for you, but I just don't know if there's enough time. I mean, I'll tell you now, assuming the Blazers are healthy next season and they keep the roster pretty much the same, I will predict them to finish really high in the conference. Because I have no reason not to, But as far as this specific amount of time, it's probably just too little too late, man. Phoenix here. The power forward, Saric. Phoenix needs a new 4. Depending on how much Millsap costs in the open market and if the Nuggets want to keep him, I think that would be an interesting option for Phoenix, certainly. Grizz at 16. Yeah, Winslow already got hurt. I do kind of think, like, what do the Grizzlies need besides just experience and Ja Morant just having his natural progression? Same thing for Jaren Jackson, although Jaren still needs to foul less. I think that small forward could be pretty essential. Are they going to need... Because I kind of feel like they're going to need to get their own version of, let's say, Chris Middleton or something. 17-point guy who can make a shot but go off the dribble a little bit. You could say that Dylan Brooks is that guy. I don't know. There's some sort of mental block I have before putting him in that role. Of course, Brandon Clark could be that guy, because Brandon Clark's amazing, even if he has not started for them and all that. Anyway, Pacers, I don't know. I mean, is Oladipo going to play? Is he not going to play? No clue. OKC at 18. Now that's interesting. Now I get it. Lou Dort didn't play a lot. When they go to Schroeder, they're amazing. I mean, if the Schroeder lineup was the starting lineup, they would be like in the top something. I get it. But don't sleep on Lou Dort. That's all I'm going to say. That guy's got something to him. He's got some Marcus Smart going on, and we should pay attention to that. Who's left? Spurs, don't care. Magic, don't care. Well, I care a little bit. Get Aaron Gordon out of starting lineup. Put Jonathan Isaac in. If Isaac's going to play, we don't totally know. Nets, don't care. Wizards, don't care. There we go. Video's done. Yeah, once again, Pelicans, number 1, I do not agree. And I say this as someone who is extremely high on Zion Williamson to the point where I'm even starting to doubt myself a little bit on it.